Hello, everyone. We are so thrilled to have you here today joining, and I see people from all over the country, and I'm sure other places in the world are going to be tuning in. I am so thrilled to be a part of this, and obviously, this is not going to be your traditional virtual event. If you are feeling that exhaustion already of it, don't worry. This is definitely going to be a party. It's going to be a lot of fun, and obviously, if you guys know Stacking Benjamins, it's always about comedy too. So, first, I would love to introduce myself. As you can see, I'm Natalie Torres Haddad, Financially Savvy Latina. I am the host and author of Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes podcast and a two-time TEDx speaker on financial literacy. So it's definitely an honor to be a part of this. When Joe asked me, I'm actually have been a guest on his podcast, Stacking Benjamins, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, which I'm going to introduce him in a second. This has been such a thrill to be, seeing the behind the scenes. And today I'm actually not going to take you just on a tour with them, but I'm going to be introducing some cool peeps because this is what they've been up to, they're going to share with us their journey, and all of us are obviously here to cheer them on. Please make sure you send us any conversations, any questions, any comments. Please, we'll do our best to make sure we answer those questions too. And this is supposed to be fun. This is going to be a live event, and we're not going to be on stage, but as you can see my cool little stage, we're going to be behind the scenes, getting to know everything about what they're doing with this new book, and obviously checking out their cover and asking them the questions that, dare I say, are taboo. Oh, well, we'll see. But first, let me first introduce, obviously, just amazing people that I feel so honored to be a part of this amazing venture with it that we're having ahead. So first, I want to introduce someone who I've known for many years now, and he's really been like a mentor to me too. So if you haven't heard his podcast, I'm sure you have by now. So Joseph Saul-Sehy he's probably one of those people that not only makes everything funny, but somehow makes you want to learn more about him, more about what he's doing for our community. And he's learned from a lot of failure. And if you haven't followed him, make sure you follow him because he's always busting some jokes today. As you can see, he's right there. Make sure you see him looking awesome in his space. Let me give you a little intro about him. So he's definitely learned a lot, right? He said he's made some mistakes, some failures, but he also was one of those people that had unfortunately destroyed some of his credit immediately after going home, right? So this is after college, and he had to learn the hard way. And after 16 years in the financial industry, he moved from being a financial advisor into moving into the space of financial media, which made him not only create, but it's one of the most listened to, and I would like to say one of the most entertaining podcasts out there, creating Stacking Benjamins. It's also known from Kimpler as the show that has the best personal finance podcast, and Fast Company has described it as a striking great balance between fun and functional. And yes, kudos to that because I completely agree. Joe lives in Texarkana with his spouse Cheryl and Kat Cooper, recording show from his mom's basement next door. So he's definitely the unconventional, which I love because then guess what? You get to learn something new in a fun way. And his co-author, who is none other, also just as famous, just as amazing, she is Emily Guy Birken, and she has worn lots of hats throughout her career. Also, those funny, humorous people that you just want to get to know better. She's a temporary tattoo artist, bookseller, AmeriCorps volunteer, teacher throughout all. There has been one constant thing that's huge about her. She's a money nerd. So we're definitely all in good company because we're all money nerds. In 2010, she turned her excitement about spreadsheets into a career as a Plutus award-winning freelance writer in the financial sphere. So definitely amongst some VIP people today. Her varied career combined with her background in education helps make complex financial topics reachable. Her work has appeared in the Huffington Post, Business Insider, Kimpler, MSN Money, Washington Post. She's the author of 4 other books: The 5 Years Behind Your Retire, Choose Your Retirement, Making Social Security Work for You, and End Financial Stress Now. Emily lives in Milwaukee with her spouse and 2 sons, plus their dog TiVo and their cat, the Dude. So let's give them all a warm welcome and cheer them on for being amazing trailblazers.
Wow, how about
Thank
that?
you.
And I see we already have people making fun of my hair already. We're like 3 minutes in and we've already started.
Of course. Yeah, feel free to make jokes because Joe brings it on. If you're going to roast him nicely. Welcome, you two. Congratulations on your book deal. And there's just so many questions that I know all of us have, and we're going to get a chance to get into that. And also, we have some giveaways. We're going to be giving away Joe's book as well as Emily's book. So stick tuned for that because we're going to have that. Yes, show us those books. We all love freebies, and yes, get a chance to win. Yes, more knowledge and have fun with it too. We're going to have an opportunity for questions, so feel free to chime them in. First off, I just wanted to start off with the question because we're all thinking about this. First off, what made you think of you? Either one of you, Joe or Emily.
Well, I missed it. You beeped
Oh, so
out.
yeah. So when made you want to write this book, right? I mean, you have
Oh,
amazing platform. What sparked this idea for you?
I'm gonna let Joe take this one.
right. I so I wanted. Let me start here. I get to interview a lot of people. We have about 150 shows a year. And so I get to see a lot of great financial people. I get to talk to, I feel very lucky that I get to talk to people like both of you. And so many people that I can see friends that are joining us today that we've also talked to on the podcast. But there was one area that I saw that I didn't think was really being represented, and that was humor. But I really didn't know how to do it. So I wrote this first financial book. I wrote it over like 8 years. My coach, Mary Lou Johnstone, she'd been pushing me to write a book for a decade. So I wrote it a little bit, and I wrote a little more. I wrote a little more, and it sucked. It was so bad. You could tell that in one chapter my kids are 3, and the next chapter my kids are 6, and the next chapter they're 9, and you're like, okay, you couldn't do it. Then I'm walking through Powell's bookstore, the huge bookstore in Portland, Oregon, and just a great bookstore. If you've never been there and you're a book nerd, it's a place that you have to go. And so, Emily, have you been there, by the way?
I've never been to Portland, so no.
Oh, you'd be in heaven. You would
No,
totally.
I think I'd bring a pillow and move in. So that sounds like my kind of place.
It is a block long. It's like four stories. And I just wanted to get lost, and I get inspired whenever I go to a bookstore. And this was a great one. So I wander into the kids section, and I find this book called The Hardy Boys Detective Manual that when I was in 4th grade was my favorite book of all time. I absolutely dug the Hardy Boys. And I thought that this detective manual was written with the help of a real life FBI detective, this retired detective. And I would learn how to do fingerprints. I'd learn how to decode things. I would learn how to use the secret ink. I would learn all of these cool things that detectives did. So I thought, it would be really funny. It'd be funny and it would be fun, but it would also be great if there was a book on the market that I would carry around like I carried that book around. So if I had this attachment to it and I dog-eared it and I was so excited about it. So on my flight home, that's in my head. And then I get home and there's a box on my table from my mom. And by the way, I'm 50 years old and my mom has finally taken stuff out of the attic to hand back to me. Right. So I've got the Little League crap. I've got my bowling trophy, right. From when I was in 3rd grade, but I also had the Cub Scout Wolf Guide. And what I loved about the Wolf Guide was that it has things that you need to do at the top of every chapter, right, to get your badge. And then you had clear instructions about what to do. And then your mom signed it at the bottom to make sure that you did it. And I thought, here it is. This is clearly a book that nobody's written. I don't see it on the financial shelf anywhere. So then I set out to write that. Now, I know myself and I know how hard it was to write that first book. And I read a book that I had heard was really funny by the communications director in the Obama administration. I believe her name's Amy Massimino. And it was a really funny book. And by the way, not much politics in it. It is mostly just what happens behind the scenes in a White House. And I think the name of the book is Who Thought This Was a Good Idea? Which in itself
seems very apt.
Yes. So, which we're asking ourselves right now, right? But she got a book deal. She spent 2 years doing nothing. And then she realized that she was working at Vice at the time, this online, news place. And she's got great writers all around her. And as I'm reading this after my failed book attempt, I realized I'm surrounded by writers. I am constantly interviewing writers. I've got so many people that are friends of mine that can help me through this process. So my first choice, the person I really wanted to write with, was this crazy woman named Emily Guy Birken, because she and I have cracked up about so many things between. I feel like we talk at FinCon, it's like an old lost friend, and we just kind of pick up from where we were before. And so I got very lucky. She was the first person I asked. I said, "Hey, I got this weird ass idea for a book. How would you like to help me write a book that is the Hardy Boys Detective Manual meets the Cub Scout Wolf Guide, but it's all about money?" And she's like, "I'm in. Let's go." And so that was the genesis. It took us, Emily? It took us about a year, really, to just write the sample chapters.
Yes, yeah, because that was, I feel like that was summer of 2018 is when you first reached out to me. And so it took us a little while to kind of get the proposal put together, the sample chapters written, and kind of going back and forth on that, and then getting our agent, and kind of going from there, and then having our agent say, like, "This is good, but do it better." A couple of times.
We got so lucky. Once again, knowing a bunch of writers, I went and asked a bunch of writers for agent referrals. We were referred to 3. They were all great agents. I think one of the agents, and we'll leave this person nameless, didn't realize that this was a very serious project disguised as humor. And maybe, Natalie, we'll get into that later, because she thought this was nowhere near serious enough for her. But luckily we found Heather Jackson with the help of Gene Chatsky. And Heather Jackson has been wonderful. And she beat us up. She really beat us up on the sample chapters and said, "This has got a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do." And thank goodness for that, because then when we auctioned it, we had a lot of interest in the auction. The top houses in the country were interested in the book. And I've never been through an auction before. I don't know, Emily, because you've written a lot, if you've been through an auction before, but that was.
No, that was my first auction as well. And lifelong dream, kind of a big deal.
And what does that look like? The auction, was that like a virtual thing, or was it in person? Or, I mean, it sounds like nerve-wracking, but exciting at the same time.
So I had always imagined it was like an auction, and it's more like people put in bids by a specific time, and then you get together with your agent and talk about the bids and decide, like, the obvious way is like whoever offers the most money, but it's not necessarily about that. It might be like you like their distribution plan better. You might like any number of things. Like they might say, like, "Oh yeah, we want to do this in 4-color and all the illustrations you want," or whatever, but it'll be, a smaller advance. So we had,
we had to do like this. We had to do like a road show where we went and we talked to all the different editors that might auction. Yes. So we got to, we rolled out the song and dance routine.
Yes.
Yeah, and told them all about what the vision of the book was. And, and they were some phenomenal editors. I mean, the people that we worked with, I remember with the people who wrote Atomic Habits, that wrote, well, actually, in fact, our current editor, oh boy.
I think we had
yeah, I think Joe froze for a second.
It happens, but I like how Joe just mentioned too. You obviously surround yourself with smart people, right? And you have, obviously, Emily's like, yes, that's me, and I love that. Emily's like, yes,
yes, indeed. No. I was just thinking, Joe's always very good about knowing who to talk to.
But getting back into it with Joe, and I know a lot of people are those that are just joining us. Obviously, Joe's giving us a little behind the scenes of what became and how this creation came to be, and the process of the auctioning part, finding that agent. And you could tell us a little bit more about, I know you froze for a second, but yeah, get back into it, because I think that's amazing that you surround yourself with not only smart people, but humorous people, because it sounds like you know that humor matters, and maybe you could tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this book obviously was meant to be funny, but it isn't, because, and I think a lot of money geeks think that humor is extra, like we can add it in, but it's not really for serious people. You know, I see some of the reviews of our show sometimes for people that just don't get it, and that's okay. But I truly think two things. Number one is money is so serious, and it causes so much stress that I think we have to laugh.
Mhm.
We did a show recently that hasn't aired yet with some alarming statistics. 65% of people out there have cried about money before. And while you may think that that's normally poverty related, and it certainly is, by the way, the largest percentage of any population are people making below 50,000 and less in this study that cry about money. But even people making over $250,000 a year, 45% of those people said that they've cried about money. So money in this pursuit of our dreams and whatever it means in these broken, you know, whatever it is, it's so stressful. It's so difficult that I think we have to have some humor just to get through it, right? There's that phrase about life being brutish and short. And so we should probably enjoy it a little bit. The second thing is, and this isn't just the book, but the book really, you know, from the creation of it is an extension of the podcast. And that's that I firmly believe that if you're having a good time, you're going to learn more. You're going to learn
Mhm.
way more. When I'm bored to tears and somebody's having this long, drawn out conversation, it's got to be something I'm super passionate about for me to really stay with it. But instead, I think we can attract more people to finance if we just inject a little humor in all the conversations. And
Mhm.
so that's really why this book is one of the few finance books. And that was, Emily, if you remember, that was one of the things every editor quizzed us on. They said there's, and by the way, our agent told us that. She said there are no humorous finance books.
Mhm.
So why do you think that this will be, why do you think that this will be a good one? And we told her exactly that.
Well, and I'm very much of the belief that life's too serious to be taken seriously. Like it's really important to have a sense of humor about serious topics. And I also, people tend to kind of like look at comedy and humor as not being serious. And I actually think it's very serious business. It's important um, to be able to find the humor and make jokes about things, and then also like there's a lot that goes into humor is it's actually a lot harder to be funny than it is to be melodramatic. I was a teenage girl, I know this for a fact. So um so that's one of the things that really appealed to me. I mean, for one thing, just working with Joe was going to be awesome, but another thing, that's the idea of letting my humor off the leash for a project. I do try to inject a little humor in what I write. I often find it's edited out. I mean, my editors really enjoy me, but they're like, it's not going to fly for the readers. So being able to like just really have fun with it and enjoy the process. And like the whole time it was like, oh, Joe's gonna laugh at this. And what I told people is like, I think it's going to be funny. Joe and I crack each other up. I hope other people will find it funny too.
And that's the key, right? It's understanding that you both had this vision, and if
Mhm.
it's gonna make you giggle, it's gonna make you laugh, that chances are other people are gonna get that humor too.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
right on. It's this is such a most of these topics sound kind of taboo, sometimes a little not only difficult or awkward to even talk about,
Mhm.
but you're managing to hone into like how can we make this fun, right? And you did a lot of not just with the graphics, right? The imagery, those jokes that people might not get. And I like what she said, I was a teenager, so I know. I have to ask a little bit about that, because it's like, can you? Oh, Joe looks like he's like about to. You want to
Yeah.
say something?
Before we get to the
Yeah.
graphics, I just got to have a shout
Yeah.
out for our agent. Here she is. Heather's here.
Oh, yay!
Heather's great. Phenomenal. Thank you for everything, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
you, Heather,
Yes.
for joining. And it looks like we have people from New York, Jersey. I mean, everyone's saying hooray. I love it. Crystal gets the awkward teenage girl. I mean, we all go there.
Well, I'm an awkward grown woman now.
I was gonna say, I'm still
No
an awkward
longer
woman.
melodramatic.
I don't think we ever get past that, right? Money nerds, we know what we're talking about.
Oh yes.
Moving on to like you're saying the graphics about the book, because I think it's that too, the visual part. A lot of us are visual learners too. You know, can you tell us a little about that? Because I mean, just the title alone makes me think about it. But, you know, when was the last time someone said, "Are you stacked?" And what way? And in what way did they say, "Are you stacked?"
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I will say this weekend, I was having my sister help me with something about preparing for this launch. And so she's looking at all this stuff and she says to me, Emily, you do know that stacked also means big boobs, right? I'm like, yes, I'm aware.
You're like, I'm a woman. I know this very well.
And I think it would have been funnier. It would have been funnier to say,
What?
really?
We've known each other too long. My sister I wouldn't be able to hold a straight face to go, really? So we actually Stacked, we have to thank Heather, our agent, for that title. I can't remember what our original title was. I mean, it was Stacking Benjamins something, and Heather said, why don't you go with Stacked? And we're like, you get us, you understand what we're going for. So
and it looks like the question is Joe stacked as well. I'm like, that's another question.
That's for Cheryl to answer.
I told you this. I'm like, I don't mind being stacked if it's all about the Benjamins, right? It's like, you know, you haven't tuned in, right? I'm sure Joe's ready, but you see the dollar behind him. It's all about being stacked.
Oh, nice job, by the way, with the Benjamin.
Oh, any way I can do a little props for Joe, you know, we'll do that. So it's collecting some pre-orders already, guys. Little visual. Told you it wasn't your typical virtual. So Joe, I mean, tell us a little bit too about how you felt about these graphics, because I mean, Emily, you know, she's coming up with some of these.
So, yeah, you if you're at all familiar with me, you might know that I do some drawing and oh gosh, it was earlier this year. Joe said to me, like, why don't you do some drawings for the books? And I hid under the desk for about an hour, like in the fetal position, going like, I can't do that. Because this is something I do for myself for fun. And he's like, yes, you can. So I have contributed this image of, I like to say this is actual photographic evidence of me and Joe working.
I love it. And his hair looks good in that picture too.
Yeah, the hair. I went for realism there. And then there's also the graphic you might have seen of there's the fox speaking on podcast, and then the unicorn writing with a great idea.
Yes, I love that image. We've been seeing that today all day on Facebook. If you're not following Instagram on Facebook, make sure you see that the little fox too, and the unicorn. Like, oh, we can all relate, right?
So with talking about it with Joe, I was like, okay, I'd like to do animals, and I was like, what's your favorite animal? And he starts naming animals that were going to be impossible to draw on a podcast. So he's like, an eagle. I'm like, no. Like, yes. A narwhal, no. So I ended up with a fox, and then I drew myself as a unicorn just because. Well, I'm grandiose. What can I say?
That's how you have to be, especially you're bringing attention to these topics that, like you said, it doesn't need to be boring. I mean, kids gravitate to unicorns. Of course, adults will too. I mean, how often do you see a unicorn in a finance book?
Hey, Natalie, before we talk about like some of the concepts inside the book, can we give something away?
Yes, of course. So it looks like we have tons of people tuning in, and thank you for all those funny comments already. I see we see Stephanie, hooray, she's already having fun, and we see Heather, of course. Thank you so much for joining. So you want me to just why don't we start off with Emily's book first?
Yeah.
And
Let's do
just going,
Emily's trivia.
if you're
Okay.
just, we're going to be giving away a few more than a few books, but Emily's book, The 5 Years Before You Retire, and
Revised and updated.
And
oh
it came
yes,
out yesterday, right?
Came out yesterday, new as of yesterday. So this
these
is the
you're getting,
revised and updated version.
you're getting the good stuff. So we're going to pick by random, right, Joe?
Yeah, well, no, the first person to get it that we see in the stream. Let's do that.
Okay, perfect.
So
Let's do that.
am
So
I asking my trivia question?
Go ahead, then I'll put it on the screen when
sure.
you're ready.
Okay.
Oh,
So my trivia question is,
okay, go for it.
Joe was quite the world traveler, well, United States traveler, while we were working on this book, whereas I stayed put. And so I want to ask, how many states did Joe write in for his portion of the book? Now, you have an upper limit of 50.
And by the way, drunken is not a state.
Drunken is not a state, although that is one of the states in which he wrote. And some of those portions remained intact for the final edit.
I think the last 2 times I saw Joe in person were in front of an IPA or some kind of beer. So, okay.
Oh boy.
I lost one already. A bunch of people coming in. It looks like, who's going to be the winner? Okay. Oh, wow. There's so many of you. All right. Joe, do you see the right answer right away?
Oh,
it looks like we have Tyler Caleb for 2.
What's amazing is how many people got it right. Arnold was the first one.
Yay!
Congratulations, Arnold! Yay! I will be autographing this for you. So if there's anything in particular, Arnold, that you would like me to write, I'm happy to do so.
And shoot an email to EmilyGuyBirken@gmail.com or to me at joe@stackingbenjamins.com, and we'll get it to her. But yeah, I started the book in Michigan, and then when we became nomads, I wrote a little bit in Ohio, wrote most of it in Vermont, wrote pieces in Texas, and then did a bunch of editing last fall and writing and crystallizing it in Palm Springs, California. So
that's for those that are watching and thinking about writing a book, you just know you might do this.
Just got to move around and that'll work.
We're tuning in from different states.
Take things loose.
Hey, can we give another shout out too before we moved on? So we had some alpha. We had a few alpha readers that volunteered to read the very raw manuscript when we finished it. And Kyle was one of those people, and he's here with us.
Kyle.
Kyle was amazing. I keep quizzing Kyle about what I can send him as a gift, and I can't. I want it to be perfect. And so I continually go, okay, I got something better. Or I got something better. So Kyle thinks I don't love him because I haven't sent him crap yet. But Kyle, it's on the way. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for those pre-readers. Yeah, because exactly, that's kind of that's the whole process, right? People think once you write it, it's not done. That's one of the steps, right, of many to come.
I love Julie's because I'm from Michigan. Ohio doesn't count. That's good. Awesome.
We'll see. And I'm sure you guys will be taking this on the road. So people that want to see you live, and obviously we're doing this during a pandemic, which makes it, I think, even more special because you guys are bringing something different to the table, and people have this opportunity to look out for this book because not only do they want to have it for themselves, but they want to make this fun for everybody, right? And that's why you're writing this book, to help us to want to learn more about it, instead of be like, oh, here's another dull book, or here's another, the similar thing, right? And that's what I love. And those that listen to the podcast too, I think that's one of the geniuses behind Joe. It's like, what can I not do, right? Like, you do that all the time. You think of something, you're like, I'm going to try it, and if it fails, at least you did it, right? So
absolutely,
I think that's pretty cool. Do you want to do one more trivia before? And of course, we have plenty of people shout out because I see so many people still joining in. Dylan said, please don't send Joe to the state.
We can. Yeah, let's go ahead and do our other trivia. What do you think?
All right, let's do
that. Sounds good.
For this one, by the way, and this is my trivia, I have had a lot of great guests on lately, and I'm going to give whoever wins their choice of many different books. So I interviewed Scott Trench and Mindy Jensen from Bigger Pockets Money about being a first-time home buyer. That was very interesting and enlightening. This was great. Lisa Napoli on the 4 founding mothers of NPR. And for people that don't know about the show, we try to be all over the place. So if these books seem all over the place to you, it's because that is our goal. We want to be diverse in every sense of the word possible, but so that you learn about stuff that you didn't even know you were interested in. Our friend Bola Sakunbi has a wonderful book called Grow Your Money. She runs Clever Girl Finance, and this was good stuff. I love this one from my friend Brian Byro, The ROI of Kindness. We talk about return on investment a lot, and this is a huge return on investment. Little tiny book, big message. And then we just had Rachel Rogers on. She's been doing a big book tour lately and included us. We saw her on the Drew Barrymore show just before she came on Stacking Benjamins. She said going on Drew Barrymore was just a little worse than being in mom's basement. So I'm sure. And so Rachel Rogers, we should all be millionaires. So anyway, all right, those are it. Natalie dropped off. We'll get her back in a second. But here is the question. The book was supposed to be and ended up being 85,000 words. How long was our first draft? How many words was our first draft?
So first correct answer wins the book of your choice.
Yes, and we got Natalie back.
Who's got the first one? Yes.
Yes.
We're live, guys.
And in this one, we're going to direct you higher or lower because this one may take a second.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and throw out some guesses for how long.
Yes, think about that.
500,000.
Aaron says 100,000. We got Gregory,
Aaron kicks us off with 100,000. It was more. 115,000. John says it is more. RM says 157,000. It was less. So Aaron at 185. Jennifer says 125,000. So it's between those two, 157 and 125. Dan at 134. These are kind of, so Dan has been listening to the show for a long time. I feel like I know Dan. That's a Dan answer. 134,012. Dan got it. That's exact. No, I'm kidding. He
to the T, to the 2.
Yes. 130,000 for Matthew. We got to come up just a little
Crystal
bit.
says $2.
Jennifer at 140. Dan at 170. It's higher than 140, lower than 170. We're closing in on it. Dylan says 52 stacker emails. Nice. That's good.
Nice.
Stephanie at 50. John at 123. We're still not there. 146. Aaron is way hot. Aaron is right on top of it. Mr. Green at 155, 555. It's lower than that. RM says Cheryl knows. Yes, she does. Oh, come on. Somebody's going to get it. We are all over the place.
Now Kurt's getting creative.
Between 145 and 155 people.
So higher, guys, higher.
It's lower than 153. Oh my goodness.
Is Gregory close?
Nobody wants to do it, Emily.
Nope. I'm seeing some that look about right.
147.5. We're getting there.
Tyler's close. I like Aaron's.
147.7. Still higher.
Just because you submitted once doesn't mean
I didn't think this was going to be this hard. I thought somebody would. This is 148.8 from Nick. 149.333. Ron is so close. Jamie at 152, too high. Aaron at 152, too high. Kyle at 148, too low. 151. Matt is too. Matt at 151.5 is too high. Chris at 150,100 is just barely too flipping high. Oh, come on. And it's bad. Emily, we just rounded and all these people are giving us the exacts.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number is.
We totally, the true answer is we don't know, but you're also close. 149. No. Matt, you're one away. Matt is one away.
Oh, wait. Jamie got it correct.
Jamie gets it. Oh, that was exhausting, people. $150,000.
Sorry, you're off by the 2, everybody else.
150,000 words. Nice job. So we had the inevitable task of having to cut 65,000 beautiful words.
Wow.
We had,
I mean, that's a lot for people to get, you know. It's obviously it's a labor of love, and you know, who knows what happens to all those words.
Joe was saying, like, I kept trying to cushion the blow when I'd suggest we cut something. I'm like, this is a really cool story, but I think we should cut it. And he was like, that's what you keep saying. This is a great story. Let's cut it.
Well, you know, that means probably another book to come, because we want to hear these stories, right?
Over and over and over. And in fact, one day I show up at our meeting and, you know, you've got your name right there, and Emily has changed her name to like Emily Stone Cold Bitch.
Because you have to have a heart of stone to kill your darlings.
You're so kind to yourself, Emily. She's like, I expect more from you, Emily.
It was so damn funny. Hey, if who won? Who did we say won?
Jamie.
I think it was Jamie, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm. Jamie, tell me which one of those you want, and then email me, joe@stackingbenjamins.com, and I will head for the post office. So
awesome. Yeah. And we have a bunch of other questions too, and it looks like people are just like,
our friend Jamila, who also has an awesome podcast called Journey to Launch. I left and came back. I thought we were guessing the advance amount.
I love her podcast.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so
well. Now
awesome.
You tuned into one of the coolest giveaways. And, I mean, one thing that I'm sure people are thinking, like, what kind of timeline did you guys give yourself? Because obviously you talked about, you know, it took obviously the year writing in different states. What other timelines do you see coming ahead? Obviously, doing this, you know, first time doing a book launch. I mean, this is really cool.
Emily?
So, yeah, this is not my first book launch exactly, but it's my first. I haven't had quite the team on launch that we have with this one. That our Avery, our publisher, has, and suggestions from our agents, and things like that. Joe also has a lot of kind of infrastructure already in place for the launch. Which is awesome. This is not what I'm good at. This is where Joe really shines. Where, like, you know, you say to me, like, so now it's time to self-promote, and I go, okay, I'm gonna go hide for 6 months, and when it all blows over, I'll be out and about again. I'm kind of like groundhog that way. So, but having a launch team is actually really, really important, and is something that we not only have just as part of the process of writing a book with with a big publisher, but is also something that we're trying to build as well. And Joe, do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
I would. And actually before that, just looking at the time, I did promise people that we talk about some of the themes in the book.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to make sure that we hit those. So the book, just to give you a little taste of it, we're obviously not going to try we're not going to read it all to you right now.
No spoilers.
Yes, not that many spoilers, but there's a few big things that you're not going to find in a lot of other books. Chapter 1 specifically has a technique that I learned as a financial planner that is different than most people use when it comes to managing their money. And it's all about timelining your goals. And so it walks through how to do that, walks through why it's important, how it's a big time shortcut, and that nobody does. We also talk about budget meetings, and if you're single, it's a great idea to have somebody who's an accountability partner. We talk about how that could work. If you're married or in a relationship, we talk about how those meetings work. And the problem that I've always had with those meetings is that people make them too long and too boring. So we talk about how to have a fun meeting. Cheryl and I, our meeting, it's a weekly meeting. It's over pancakes or wine, depending on what time it is. And
never pancakes and wine.
Yes, it's pancakes and wine. It's been a damn good week. It's been a great week. But so we talk about that. That's another key thing. You know, I had a lot of time as a financial planner, 16 years as a financial planner. So we talk about what financial planners are thinking. But the book is based on 3 different things: stacking your first Benjamin, and then building a stack of Benjamins, and then building stacks and stacks of Benjamins. So 3 distinct areas of the book. As we mentioned at the beginning of every talk about things you're going to need, we explain how to get what you want. We have some very nerdy stories about Star Wars references, and just it's going to be all over the place. We have
makers.
Perfect time. Just had May 4th, right?
Yes. Engelbert Humperdinck makes an appearance.
He does make an appearance, yes.
Yeah. So, and at the end of every chapter, there's a place to get your badge, and a place for your mom to sign, and a checkbox of all the things to do to make sure that you implement everything that's in the book. So those are some of the things. We won't tell you all the stuff. The chapter titles are even, in my view, hilarious. One in particular, chapter 6 is my favorite chapter. It's all about investing, and I won't tell you what the chapter title is, but it's pretty damn funny. So anyway, that's that.
That's that. And people are like, wait, who just always like, wait, we have to start with chapter 1. Can you start at the end?
That's right. Yes. Board games, Chimay did not make it, sadly.
But there are 2 sub chapters that are game related. There is a budgeting Tetris chapter, and there is an insurance bingo chapter. So yes. You don't actually get board games, unfortunately, but we do create other games, and you can bring your own dauber if you want it for the bingo chapter.
It's interactive. I love that.
Yes.
That's what people want to read, right? Just chapter by chapter. So I'm going to be looking up for that. And Joe, you're going to say something.
Yeah, what's the key here, Natalie, for me is that, for most people, even when I was a financial planner, building that base seems pretty boring, right? And people want to do the really fun, exciting stuff. So we make sure that beginning of the book, the base, is really, really fun, so that you can dive into the stuff that most people, that's where people make mistakes, is that they don't have a base. We just did a story about this dude who took $140,000, all his money in the world. He maxed out his credit cards. He took as many loans as possible, and he put it all in Dogecoin.
Oh, goodness.
And he YOLO'd his way to $4 million at one point.
Oh, goodness.
That turned out great.
Oh, goodness.
But he's still 100% Dogecoin when we did the thing. And after the SNL skit that happened last week, it came down 30%. Imagine losing $1.2 million.
You're hurting me, Joe.
Yes. Right?
So we talk about the basics, sticking to the basics. Dogecoin is great. It's fantastic. But there's no YOLOing your way to success here. Yeah, Dylan, chapter 6 is not.
It's your expertise, right? It's the expertise that people need to hear. And I that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. It's not necessarily just someone that's coming up and saying, hey, I'm a financial expert. Like, no, you guys really have been in this for a long time, right? I know you're not newbies. And I think that's what people want to really see, is not only coming from the expertise, the education, but these stories that are real life stories where people are like, oh, that could have been me, or it is me. Mm-hmm. And you let us know if you're a Dodge coin.
Man, I hope so. Well, as a way into the launch teams, everybody want to see the cover?
Yes, please.
Yay!
Big one. Yes, please. A drum roll. All
right, so I'm gonna hide all of us. We'll be right back. We're just gonna leave you alone with the book here for just a couple seconds. So we'll say goodbye to Natalie. We'll say goodbye to Emily. We'll say goodbye to me.
I love the color, and yes, it's stacked. Your super serious guide to modern money management. This is a book that we all need. Love it.
So there it is. That's the that's our little baby right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
When we were looking at different cover options, I think Joe and I both were like, oh, we thought maybe it would be green. And our editor was like, every financial book is green. We want this to stand out. And I think yellow does it.
If it doesn't scream at you, you're doing something wrong. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Out of that bookstore.
And
And the graphics in the book are not just Emily's graphics. There's a lot of great graphics. There's not just the badges that we talked about, a certificate of completion at the end signed by mom when you and us when you make it through the book. But with that, let's talk about the launch team, guys, because we actually need your help. Here is where the idea for a launch team came from. I first saw my good friend who runs Broke Millennial, Erin Lowry, had a fantastic launch team for her book. And I thought it was an amazing idea. And it was a great community effort for financial literacy. I mean, I love the fact that it's our book, but frankly, I love having a podcast where we get to help anybody with financial literacy, no matter whose book it is. So if we can do that together, this is such a small community when it really comes down to it. To give you an idea of how small a community personal finance is, Dave Ramsey is the bajillion-pound gorilla in this space. And people say that his audience size, he doesn't publish it, but people that do this type of thing professionally say that his audience size is between 1 and 2 million people per episode. You can take his audience, all the rest of our audience, and maybe we've got 4 or 5 people that are listening to personal finance podcasts, 4 or 5 million people. There's over 330 million people in the United States. 5 million is nobody. So the more that we all are able to band together and get the word out about fun ways about money, I am all over it. So I love that Erin did it. We want to do it too. We'll be happy to give you a copy of the book for helping us. What we're looking for is help in a few areas. Number one is if you know somebody in the media, if you know podcasters, if you know media members that would want to do something with the book, if you know if you know bloggers, anybody who might be interested in talking about this topic, we'd love to have you on the launch team. I'm also committed to going to at least 25 cities. And what's funny is I said 25 at first. Now I say 27. Somebody the other day said, why the hell do you say 27? It's because I thought of 2 more that I really, that I really wanted to go to. But I am happy to come to your town or your place. If you can find us 50 people or more, we'd be happy to come to your town, your city, your event, your whatever, and speak. If you have a group that you belong to that you can introduce us to, whoever that may be. And we'll have just a couple of meetings along the way to talk about like who's going to do what, where we're at. We may meet with you individually to talk about your exciting thing. I'll give you an example. We have a great friend, Jennifer Ma, who is in San Diego and has already told us that she can find us a comedy club in San Diego and 200 people who want to see the show. And so we're going to do a live show in San Diego. That we will do a live show in San Diego. Seattle has also always come out for us. And I always feel like I tell Seattle at the last minute that we're coming. So we're going to do a live show in Seattle. I know those 2 cities. I don't know any other cities, but I'd love to come to your city.
And you already, Los Angeles.
And Natalie and I talked yesterday. That's right.
Yesterday I was like, absolutely easy. I think that's the biggest thrill, that people can not only see you, hear some of this behind the scenes stuff. This is like, we're almost done. And, that's something that people would just want to hear what you guys have gone through. And I have to give you a fun cheers, right? My little glow, because what you guys are doing is obviously setting the tone for everybody else going through their books and hopefully writing their books. So cheers to what you're doing, inspiring so many millions of people to want to do this as well. So make sure you contact Joe to let him know, where can he show up? Because why not make it all the states? Why does it have to be 27? He might go international.
Natalie wants me to lose all my hair, like every single strand of hair that I have. The link is right here at stackingbenjamins.com/launch team. There's a little survey there about what you think that you can do or that you want to do. If you got a different way that you think you can help us, please come on board. We'd love to put a great team of people together to make this a pretty fun launch. It is hopefully going to be a great fun team effort. Yeah, my friend Lori in Guadalajara. Let's go to Guadalajara and do.
Yeah, I'll be your translator.
We also
love
have Kevin Bailey, who does a lot of stuff with our team and has been a friend of ours for a long time. He's in Mexico City. So maybe, Lori, maybe we got the Mexican tour train coming through. Maybe that's it. That
So
would
Stay
be
if
it.
you,
tuned.
I will make a point to go. If you go to Guadalajara and Mexico City. So
I love how Emily says, if it's within 5 miles of my house, I'll go.
no,
And then all of a sudden we say Mexico, and Emily's got the suntan lotion out. She's all set.
Just get her an Airbnb, and technically that's her home that you can be 5 miles from that place.
so
People
the
are
plan is I have small children. You may have seen one come in the middle of this. So I do not have a life that necessarily is conducive to going on a world tour with Joe. So I've told him, like, if he's here in the Midwest, I'll travel in the Midwest, and if he's in the Baltimore D.C. area, because that's where my parents are, I'll go there. But I probably can't go with him everywhere. But my plan is I want to get a life-size cardboard cutout for him to take with him so that I will be there. And the real reason I want a life-size cardboard cutout is because my sister happens to have a life-size cardboard cutout of Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer on the show Lucifer, and who is a tall drink of water that I would love to meet in person. And so what I really want is to have that life-size cardboard cutout of me that I will get at the end of the tour that I can take to my sister's house and smash up against the Tom Ellis life-size cardboard cutout and make kissy noises, because I have, as I mentioned, I'm an awkward grown woman.
hashtag goals. I love that idea.
So you may not be able to see me live and in person, but you may get to see. I've been trying to figure out what my cardboard cutout's going to look like, if I'm going to do judgmental or laughing or what.
So if you guys have a few more words too, because we're almost out of time. I'm sure many of us like keep this going.
Yeah, I do have one more shout out here, and there's so many people that I owe shout outs to who are people that I've known for a long time or met along the road, and it's been a fun hour-long party, guys. But when I was a financial planner, I got a lot of media training, and I was with American Express at the time in Detroit, and was part of the PR effort there. I was a full-time financial planner, but I also was one of 12 advisors in the country that would speak on behalf of American Express with the media. But the woman who made me look good all the time from the PR firm that American Express used is here. And she really taught me so much. So Mary Beth Farkas, thank you so much. If it weren't for Mary Beth, I wouldn't be able to do all the speaking that I do. I wouldn't know how to address questions. I wouldn't know any of that stuff. So Mary Beth is just fantastic at public relations, and I owe her a lot. So I think a lot of it.
Lovely shout out. Emily, anybody you want to do a shout out to as well?
Well, I'd just like to point out my mom is currently watching. She has offered to watch the kids while I go on tour. Sorry, Mom, I don't think that's going to work. But I appreciate the offer.
You gotta love the mamas.
Yeah. This has been such an incredible journey. I like, writing is what I do, but this was so much fun. It's you don't always get to laugh so hard while you're working, and come up with jokes that you're like, oh, he's gonna love this one.
Enjoy it. Thank you guys for sharing some of your obviously not only tips that we were learning from you guys, but obviously some of those behind the scenes. But how can people follow you, and what can they do next? And obviously you're looking at the book, everyone. So make sure you put that on your reminder what you're doing next. But Joe.
Yeah. We do have pre-orders available as of right now. Pre-orders are also important for all the charts. So if we hit it hard ahead of time. So if you want to pre-order the book, it doesn't come out till December 28th. What I love doing is pre-ordering crap now. And then on December 28th, I go, oh, I bought this.
Like a gift from your previous self.
What's that?
It's like a gift from your past self. Like your younger self is giving a gift to your older self.
That's right. And that'll be stacking. It'll be stackingbenjamins.com/stacked. I don't have that here, but I'm sure Gertrude, who's hanging out with us, will have it in the comment flow. But stackingbenjamins.com/stacked will give you the link to all the different places to order it. Obviously, we like your independent bookstore, right? So if you can do it from bookshop, that's great. But there's lots of different places that
anywhere books are sold.
That Avery gave us. So,
and you can also get there from my website, emilyguybirken.com/stacked. So there's a, so you'll also find that there. So I don't know if we have competing websites.
I don't.
It's all teamwork.
Are we tracking who gets more? I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean.
Well, I'm doing a little double fisting here, but a little cheers to both of you. What you're doing is incredible. Someone asked, is that vodka, Joe? We don't know.
It is water. The vodka's as soon as we're done.
We look forward to you seeing in person. And before we end, go for it, Joe.
Well, I want to say a big thanks to this woman. I feel like the Brady Bunch here, but right in the square above me. Natalie Torres Haddad, how great is she? Financially savvy Latina. And I love you. You're fantastic. We've always had so much fun. I'm so happy that you were able to do this for us. Thank you so much.
Anytime. And we're going to have you here in LA. So both of you are an inspiration. You're teaching us the way and paving the way. That's what you guys are. You're trailblazers. So I look forward to this. I'm like thinking, God, what am I going to read?
I think that's it, right?
Yes.
We did it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.